Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to do a review on everything you should know about straight lines. As this video is just a recap, I'm not going to teach any of the material. I'm not going to show where any of the material comes from. If you aren't aware of any of the formulas or you need to actually understand the material, then you need to watch another video about the understanding side of it. The first thing you should know is that straight lines can come in multiple different forms. Y equals mx plus c is the one that you're probably most used to, but you will have also seen that you can write equations in the form y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. The m in both of the equations represents the gradient, the c represents the y-intercept, and the x1, y1 represents a coordinate on that straight line. The first equation is probably going to be more useful if you have the gradient and the y-intercept, whereas the second formula is probably more useful if you have one coordinate and also the gradient. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter which one you use, both of them will get you to the answer. Speaking of the gradient, that is something that you should know the formula for. Rise over run is the GCSE classic wordy formula. And the more grown-up algebraic formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the difference between the y coordinates divided by the difference between the x coordinates. It doesn't matter which coordinate is first, just make sure that you do the same first coordinate subtract the same second coordinate. Otherwise things might go wrong. The third thing you should know is that parallel lines have the same gradient, exactly the same. However, perpendicular lines, they are lines that meet at 90 degrees like this. Their gradients aren't the same, but one of their gradients is the negative reciprocal of the other. The next thing you need to know is how to find the coordinates of a midpoint. What we do is we take the average of the x coordinates, which is x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Then we take the average of the y coordinates, which is y1 plus y2 divided by 2, pop it in some brackets, and we call it a day. The next thing you should know is the distance formula between 2 points, which is the big square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. The x2 and x1 can be swapped, and the y2 and the y1 can be swapped because it's in a bracket squared, so it doesn't make any difference. In words, you might also remember this as the square root of the sum of the differences squared, and that might be more memorable to you. If you're still struggling to remember it, draw a nice picture and you'll be able to see that it's basically Pythagoras from here to here, finding the length of the hypotenuse. The next thing you should know is that if a point lies on a line, it means we can substitute the 1 for x, because it's x that comes first, and we can substitute the 2 for y in the equation to get something that's still true. It's very useful if we need to find the c or find the m if we're not given much information. In this case, it would tell us that 2 is equal to m times 1, which is just m, plus c. Remember that coordinates come in a pair, so if you ever sub in the x coordinate, be sure to sub in the y coordinate too. The next thing you should know is that if two lines intersect, it is really implying that you should be doing some simultaneous equations. You're essentially saying that the lines are in the same place at the same time, therefore the coordinate simultaneously solves the first line equation and the second line equation. So if you ever see that phrasing, lines intersecting, make sure you're thinking about simultaneous equations. The next thing you should know is about shortest distances to lines. The shortest distance from a point to a line will always be the line that is perpendicular. Any other angle will make the line a bit longer. So if you ever need to find the shortest distance, be sure to think about the line that would be perpendicular, like this, find out where it crosses, and then use the distance formula, and you're good. And then last thing we should know is that if we have to think about straight lines in a context, in a modelling question, for example, then we need to know that the gradient is another word for the rate. So the rate of something happening over time is going to be modelled as the gradient. That could be representing pay per hour, meters per second, anything per something else. And the y-intercept, or c, is going to represent the initial value. Because it starts when x is 0, it means it's the initial value of y before x has been changed to anything else. I write down y here, that y could change to something else depending on the context. So there we have it. Hopefully I've not missed anything out. If there's anything that you think I should have mentioned, please let me know below. If you can keep all these ideas in your head, a lot of them come from GCSE, so a lot of them should be familiar to you, then you should be able to answer most exam style questions on straight lines. That all seems well and good, and you want to make sure you can practice the exam style questions, then have a look at my worksheet down below.